From Toronto studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Zahra Syed. Our top story tonight. A report released Thursday by the UN human rights expert has found systemic racism in the US criminal justice system and policing. It found that the racism in the US exists today in the form of racial profiling, police killings, and many other human rights abuses. The report calls for urgent reforms in the US to address systemic racism, horrific prison conditions, and human rights abuses. It also emphasizes the need for a comprehensive approach that includes legislative action, addressing poverty, and ensuring quality education and healthcare. The report cites cases of prisoners locked in solitary confinement for a decade or more, which is widely recognized as a form of psychological torture. It is also noted children sentenced to life in prison and pregnant inmates chained during childbirth. The experts were astonished that unpaid or poorly paid forced labor by inmates exists to this day in the United States. According to the report, more than 1,000 people are killed by police officers in the United States each year. Only 1% of these result in the killer being prosecuted. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff General, Mark Milley, responded to recent remarks by former President Donald Trump. Milley says he has taken appropriate precautions to ensure his family's safety following Trump's social media comments. Trump claimed on Truth Social that Milley had communicated with China, calling it an act so serious that it would have warranted the death penalty in times past. Milley is preparing to retire from military service at the end of the month. He stressed that he has been loyal to the U.S. Constitution. Milley noted that the sacrifices his family has made and pointed out that Trump's comments were not just directed at him, but at the military institution. Former boxer Mike Tyson, who converted to Islam in the 1990s, recently berated his podcast co-host DJ Woo Kid for insulting the Pope. In the last episode of Hot Boxin' with Mike Tyson, Woo Kid said the Vatican and the Church oppose science and control people. Tyson, offended by the question, said the Pope was a good man and that his co-host was being disrespectful. The Muslim former boxer said that the Pope should be respected regardless of people's personal religious beliefs. Tyson was a born Catholic, but decided to change faith following the example of his mentor, Muhammad Ali. The UK-based Islam channel was fined over $48,000 for airing a documentary claiming Israel was trying to take over parts of Argentina and Chile. The documentary, titled The Andina Plan, claimed there were plans to establish a new Jewish state in the Patagonia, a sparsely populated region at the bottom of South America. British broadcasting regulator Ofcom called the documentary antisemitic. It ruled that the film constituted hate speech against Jewish people. The Islam channel said it apologized unreservedly for broadcasting the documentary. The story about Patagonia first appeared in a magazine from Argentina. It was triggered by a suggestion by political activist Theodore Herzl that a future Jewish state could be located in Argentina. The conspiracy theory typically involves the belief that there is an international plot to encourage Jewish migration to the country. Muslim groups in Belgium are challenging a Flemish law before the European Court of Human Rights on the grounds that it violates freedom of religion and worship. The petition was filed under the umbrella organization, the Belgian Islamic Coordination Board. The Flemish law in question was enacted in October 2021. To regulate the recognition of local religious communities. The organizations petitioned that the Constitutional Court and many of their objections were found to be justified. The court declared 4 provisions of the law null and void because they violated freedom of religion and worship. They prohibited houses of worship from establishing direct or indirect relations with an organization of another country and from receiving direct or indirect funding from another country. Organizations representing the Muslim community did not consider this sufficient and brought the articles before the court on the grounds that they constituted a legal insecurity. These sections include the prohibition on imams from being members of associations that maintain relations with other countries and the monitoring of religious communities. Thousands of Palestinian workers and traders flocked to the Beit Hanoun crossing on Wednesday after Israel announced the gate will be reopened. The crossing had been closed for workers and traders for years, and only passages of passenger transport from the Gaza Strip were allowed. Palestinian workers and traders lined up at the border gate, waiting to cross to Israel or to the West Bank side after the announcement. Story about suicide blasts in Pakistan comes with details after the break. Stay tuned and we'll be right back. Welcome back. At least 53 people were killed and 114 injured in a suicide blast targeting a procession in the Mastung district of Pakistan's Balochistan province on Friday. The explosion occurred near the Medina Masjid on Al-Falah Road as people gathered for the procession to mark the birth of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. The bomber detonated close to the deputy superintendent of the police's vehicle. The blast was so powerful that it destroyed several vehicles and shops nearby. Unconfirmed footage depicted the gruesome aftermath of the attack, with bodies and debris scattered all over the road. No group has claimed responsibility for the attack. Authorities believe it could be the work of Taliban Pakistan, a militant outfit that has been carrying out attacks in the region for years. The provincial government declared 3 days of mourning and announced compensation for victims' families. Caretaker Prime Minister Anwar al-Haq Kakar and President Arif Alvi expressed deep grief and sorrow over the lives lost and directed authorities to provide the best possible medical treatment to the injured. The attack comes at a time when Pakistan is grappling with a series of security challenges. Earlier this month, an explosion in the same district injured 11 people. In May, unidentified attackers targeted a polio vaccination team in the Kilisor-Karez area. The Pakistani army has launched an operation to hunt down the perpetrators of the attack and prevent future incidents. Security has been heightened across the country in response, and the attack on the procession has been widely condemned by leaders and organizations worldwide. The Taliban-led government in Afghanistan arrested 200 militants suspected of carrying out cross-border attacks on Pakistan. These arrests come after a brutal attack on 2 Pakistani security posts in Chitral earlier this month that killed 4 soldiers. The Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan group, which is banned in the region, claimed responsibility for the attack. According to sources, the Afghan leadership discussed cracking down on the group in a meeting with Pakistani officials last week in Kabul. The Taliban has not officially commented on the matter. Its top spokesman stressed it does not condone the use of Afghan territory for acts of aggression against Pakistan. Pakistan's special representative for Afghanistan, Asif Durrani, expressed optimism about these talks with the Taliban government. Anwar al-Haq Kakar, Pakistan's caretaker prime minister, expressed his concern about such groups operating on Afghan soil. He refrained from passing judgment on the Taliban's intentions. Taliban Supreme Leader Hibatullah Akhundzada is believed to have barred his forces from launching cross-border attacks against Pakistan, calling them haram or un-Islamic. Pakistani officials told the media Akhundzada also instructed Afghans not to cooperate with or donate to the group for its jihad against Pakistan and has forbidden fighters from conducting fundraising campaigns. The Pakistani Taliban, which emerged from Pakistan's border regions in 2007, has supported the Afghan Taliban in the past. As the Taliban seeks international recognition for its government, the regime is taking steps to distance itself from groups involved in criminal activities. A 22-year-old Muslim man was brutally lynched in the Indian capital, New Delhi, after allegedly stealing a banana from a makeshift Hindu temple. The sidewalk temple called Pandal was built to mark the Ganesh Chaturthi festival. Eyewitnesses said Ishaq, a mentally challenged person, had taken a banana from the pandal, which was amongst the offering devotees made to the deity. An angry Hindu mob tied Ishaq to an iron bar with a leather belt and beat him severely. After the attack, he was left tied to the pole. Ishaq's sister Uzma said he was lynched just for taking a banana, and he later succumbed to his injuries at home. A video of the attack went viral on social media and led to public calls for action. Police took up a murder case and arrested 6 people. Neighbors described Ishaq as mentally disabled and a helpful person who never hurt anyone. The incident highlights an increase in assaults and lynchings in India, particularly against Muslims, since right-wing Prime Minister Narendra Modi came to power in 2014. Muhammad Wajid, Ishaq's father, demanded justice for his son and expressed satisfaction with the police action. He demanded perpetrators suffer a similar fate as his son. Many are concerned about the growing trend of mob violence and the need for a re-evaluation of religious practices in certain segments of Hindu society. Despite the tragedy, the family has received no visits from secular politicians. Some residents believe they are neglected because of their Muslim identity and their socioeconomic status. UN experts expressed grave concern about the reported expansion of a government-sponsored boarding school program in East Turkestan, commonly known as China's Xinjiang region. The system is said to forcibly separate Uyghur children and children of other Muslim minorities from their families. These schools teach predominantly in Mandarin and largely exclude the Uyghur language. UN specialists suspect such measures may be an attempt to assimilate minority children into the Mandarin-speaking culture and adopt the Han cultural norms. Studies and reports show thousands of Uyghur children, particularly those with imprisoned parents, have been placed in camps, boarding schools, or orphanages. Following a 2017 Chinese government initiative, many Uyghurs were detained, accelerating the efforts to assimilate young Uyghurs. UN experts noted a sharp increase in the number of such boarding schools in Xinjiang, along with the closure of local schools that teach in Uyghur and other minority languages. The Uyghur Human Rights Project urged the UN member states to reject China's forthcoming application to the UN Human Rights Council. Adrian Zenz, a recognized expert on Xinjiang, acknowledged the UN statement but expressed disappointment at the delay in its release. He urged the international community to focus on the issue. The UN statement was issued by 3 experts on minority issues, cultural rights, and education. China has challenged India's claim that its Chandrayaan-3 rover landed near the lunar South Pole. Yang Zheyuan, known as a pioneer of Chinese lunar exploration, noted that the landing site at 69 degrees south latitude is not near the defined pole. He claimed the rover was 385 miles from the lunar South Pole. The Indian Space Agency has not yet commented on the issue. Nevertheless, Chandrayaan-3 has traveled further south than any previous spacecraft. Russia's most recent attempt in this region failed and crashed on the moon. Previous missions include China's Chang'e 4 mission, which landed at 45 degrees south latitude in 2019, and NASA's Surveyor 7 mission, which landed at 41 degrees south latitude in 1968. The lunar South Pole is significant because scientists speculate about ice reserves that could be useful for longer lunar missions. The US and China are targeting this area for upcoming lunar missions, which will be the first manned lunar landings since NASA's Apollo program decades ago. The Muslim romantic comedy Americanish will hit theaters on October 6th. It is the first film in the genre directed by a Muslim American woman. Aiza Fatima, the lead actress, co-writer, and the producer of Americanish, says she made the film for little girls like herself who live in small American towns and never see themselves as heroes of their own story. The film tells the story of American Muslim women and the intersection of tradition and modernity. It explores the good and the bad aspects of tradition while highlighting the need for acceptance in society. The film has won 75% rating on the American Film and Television Review website Rotten Tomatoes. Director Inam Zawari said Muslim women are still seen as docile, fearful, or victims. She says the film portrays Muslim women as normal and independent. That's all from our Toronto studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Assalamu alaikum and good night.